Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
She Claare na Gael viscoiltaya carnish is bevaliam shiwajolio altaga. My name is Robert Cutting-Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Did thee ever hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
And it's my pleasure to bring you this bilingual programme in the English language as Sgilg and in the Manx Gaelic, Chinyanamera, the mother tongue of Alinvanning, the Isle of Man. As Banach and Durish. In his A Review of the Manks History, David Robertson has brought us on to parts of history now that are referred to in the Chronicles of the Kings of Man and the Isles. Te fónalu van Helsing kiaull Rolik, the Shiga Nabel Lucy Westenra, mar fair niau varu, fe Gael a coffinek fut na hei. Canali goil al rosh Lucy heen or erbeach te burrich fuddy de darach and Count Dracula, ma vis Egerson de well Lucy Maru was on look it on shore. In Lorient yesterday afternoon, in the second round of the competition for Pen Bagad, the Championnat des Bagadous, it was again BAGAD CAP CAVAL who came first, as they did in the first round in Saint-Brieuc in April. We'll hear their winning performance in parts during the programme. Now, CALUM Kennedy was a native Gaelic speaker from Lewis, but here he sings in his second language, English, about Mary from Skye. Tashu Geistjach rish Radio Vanning, Stashu the Nashun, Scalia Mach by Dulish, Ellen Vanning.
When the long shadows fall and the sun goes to rest behind the dark woodlands away in the west, and it's beautiful Mary, so lonely far by, since you left me alone on the island of Skye. I walk by the shore when the long day is through. I hear the gulls calling, they're calling for you, and the sea breezes whisper your name with a sigh. Oh, come home, lovely Mary, to the island of Skye. If my heart were yon blackbird so high in the air, I would fly to your window and sing for you there, and the sound of my pleading would fill all the sky. Come home to me, Mary, on the island of Skye, like the waves of the ocean that break on the shore. The memory of Mary returns o'er and o'er. So come home to a heart that is yours till I die. Let it break for you, Mary, on the island of Skye. Let it break for you, Mary, on the island of Skye.
Very fine Scottish singer who appeared many times here in Douglas, CALUM Kennedy. We were hearing that Godred Crovan had been repulsed twice at the Len, but then in 1079 succeeded by invading Ramsey, having hidden 300 warriors in the woods on Skye, and just when the Manx thought they were about to win, up popped the 300, and the day was with the invaders. After Godred Crovan's successful invasion, assembling his army, says David Robertson, and we know that he's quoting the Chronicles here, submitted to their choice, either to divide the lands among themselves and reside here, or to plunder the isle and return to their own country. Many of the soldiers, eager to pillage those whom they had conquered, preferred the latter alternative, and, enriching themselves by rapine, returned home with the spoils their ferocity had acquired. But others of greater spirit and policy, being desirous of sharing in a foreign land the fortunes of a chief who led them to conquest, he divided among them the south department of the island. Te Krautach, mortafissem vain vainse Jonathan, as vain acht dulju en treg houds nish, de wel bolish en trebe Claare en som bjoes en in Lucy, as a denkilien. As ons immer die achten, ten een jou veriu lager, dat de kinjach en jart sa lauwege je feed dunje. Hier na kerjin ren koren jart ein den in Lucy, ten je solju desen. Mer shen, for die sumne amade alde, as gesems a creelia. Ma so, ma wisse takert, de weleshen chit noon, en nui shaw, near Feddenby. A gejin pecher by elia, der a wisse ro anmach. Ach, for die na gin coreb ar chitkas a wall shaw, gen elor dersen ginaway, tan ball shell gegge, na smoel ledden de spoelien en rodikonji tan ben jou varu na kadla, as tan unshaan dunje freelara. Fair tam I skrif shaw, ons zaal na haal. Gaun na pebron te les shaw, na gilen en harkers na firelia, as gin liad. Our MAGI TUDUR is from Benisarwine, a village in the Caernarvon area. Here she sings Lon Bost.
Henon fel sarf yn sleifio a dwi'n am ar y stryd yn gwylio bawb fel ffyliad gwirion ar wyb I le'n byd. Lon bost a'i golau llachar di denu llawer genethol yn cario I ffoen a'i gofi dymaeth dydyn nhw byth yn dod yn ôl. Ma' na ddwy ffordd yn mynd a dod, mae'r ddwy'n sathru ein byw am bod. Tra bod rhai'n cyrraedd, mae eraill yn ffoi, oddi ar y lon bost os na neb yn troi. Ryn gan ar un hen straeon, dwi'n sefyll yma fel o hyd. Mae'n hawdd siarad am wrthryfela yma ar y stryd. Felly paid sôn wrtha I am chwildro, sefais yn y bwlch I gadw'r mir. Ond weithiau mae'r awydd i'w heglu o ma, yn gryfach na'r wallu sydd ddal fy hir. Ma' na ddwy ffordd yn mynd a dod, mae'r ddwy'n sathru ein byw am bod. Tra bod rhai'n cyrraedd, mae eraill yn ffoi, oddi ar y lon bost os na neb yn troi. Mae'r lon bost yn dal I ddenu, dwi'n a'n dal i'w gwrthod hi. Waith mi fod yn ffwl yn fama, na'r rhywle tu hwn sy'n cyrraedd fi. Ma' na ddwy ffordd yn mynd a dod, mae'r ddwy'n sathru ein byw am bod. Tra bod rhai'n cyrraedd, mae eraill yn ffoi, oddi ar y lon bost oes na neb yn
MAGI TUDUR, who's studied medicine, runs a crochet business and still finds time to be a singer-songwriter. Lurg dat jaiad, shell gan jou warmoer shaw, as gin gyara jay a chion, as lost a chree, na sai kippin the chrooj, the vod and sail goil ash na goosh. We shenanacht, sleddenjat. Van Helsing. Gilen and fairly Seward, and hart to lees feed main fower. Sien de sachene wis Sabine by foot na heed in the wer de han. Jay van me bonnes arldach de haige je iron age Van Helsing. Ach nish, te jane de limmer mag, de me goeie maar red in sledden naikiel gaadjen. Gaan me do jail de wel I kruil ol you jou. Ta mi gindus vel care on de wel ne inche nege ergit de weas kem. Son shigeris, de ach versoenach enjach de heige gemach ol you rit en foljacht ach shaw. Al de say away de wel een aluhien golina had. Tego ach de lersken kaginus de jinnach e chit de weas a giel, jinnach e coolinen of a fosen bent in de ai we sidejar ons acht jindesach. Now, while the northern division he granted to the natives, the south went to the people who conquered and stayed, while the northern division he granted to the natives, on express condition that no man should ever claim any inheritance. Now, this was a way, perhaps, of explaining the long-standing division of the island into north and south. Thus, Godred, having conquered, soon began to enslave the people. Tyrants are ever suspicious of their subjects, and as they know that peace is favourable to reflection and reflection to liberty, they usually precipitate them into a foreign war, thereby confirming oppression at home and spreading devastation in other countries. With this policy, of which our modern princes seem so ambitious, Godred was not acquainted. Observing a spirit of discontent rising among his subjects, he formed the young and vigorous into a fine army, with which he successfully invaded Dublin, and then returned to the island laden with the spoils of conquest. The opening of the performance in Lorient yesterday afternoon of BAGAD CAP CAVAL.
The Nation Station, Manks Radio.
Stasiwn yn asiwn dy radio fanning, as yn siot asiw geisdiach rys Claare na Gael, mer yn pyn Robert gyda'n cors o Robert y corslach.
Have you heard tell of owl Bobby Bob?
Gwrys imedi Claare yn radio fanning elia, ta Claare na Gael y clas yn rys siart yn lwgdi gyda'r sgelia mach yn chyrchyrd, trwyd yn chraman agert yn y dega radio fanning. As de Claare na Gael master na chieten door en de podcasten wisselgeren nasty in de radio vanning, na trud en reichjere de podcast jou, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. The Western Scots, writes Robertson, having, however, checked him in his career of victory, Godred equipped a considerable fleet to resent these hostilities. He awed a part of Scotland and subdued the Hebrides. But the honour acquired by these new victories he didn't long enjoy, for he soon after died in one of those islands which had lately submitted to him. Well, Godred Crovan is buried, in fact, in his native isle of Islay, rather than somewhere new to him, and he had collected people from the Hebrides to come and invade the Isle of Man in the first place. He's described thus: he was majestic in his person, noble in his aspect, and of a bold, penetrating, and politic genius. To the feelings of mercy he was not wholly insensible, but the principles of justice he accounted trifles beneath the regard and dignity of one who by his heroism and policy had seated himself on a foreign throne. Godred, AD 1082, was succeeded by his eldest son, Lagman, who, having murdered his brother Harold on suspicion of promoting a rebellion among the soldiery, resigned his crown for the cross. Genel mi son smunnion mesennes, de jaro wege jindes gemoeres en virelje de retten maag drau van Helsing as a giel. Ach de wie, niem vreilare de gier. Fuddy de be fistre redden a foliach. Een nijl les vied mijn vader, Mara. Raer, beggen ros jair a chlag, Henk Arthur as Quincey stiach und Schemer van Helsing. Dint she dun ulje we shirar in de jinno. Ach, Lord Erlier rish Arthur, maar de beg ulju na agnig nain, kada me giert en agni Egerson. Gawe toiach glorish grede rawi tres jail de jinnach shanulju chit merish nies, a fair doorte, ta corum trom de jinnowan shen. Gin aurus vau goil yindes jame skriwen. Ren en feinach shaw de girach, Renne en feinach shaw de girach a chor jen charn godalming. Wei, hugge beggen dem nearum rish tamelt, ta chwish burra veon me girt de taiem a gerage de bavaliam shan a tulju. Now this is a Breton song about a young clerk. It's performed by a quartet, 2 men, 2 women, called GABALERIEN.
When we speak,
A group from, I think, the area of Cap Caval, as they're called, are GABALERIEN, the people from the GABALERIEN, I think they're people from Cap Caval, but I'm not sure about that. Anyway, that was GABALERIEN from an album recorded in 1967, and the song Claare youank, the young clerk. Van mi en son vis nis na tau mail. Ren Quincey is mis lord mer nach na smoe rentjen lord, na smoe van jou higgele zijn, der a fodum grey ma han heen, terwijl mi keiltje de bollach bent in den wonjere de bee. Mish me redden, doort Quincey Morris de Gael. Oh, doort na allo, eist has je na snedde den toyacht na nistju, na te machare John on shaw. As vee mersen go backtammelt jou a roos me vis e chas na eer gefade as de gold toyacht. Scronnel weder au I cor en nach van me en bakkes a veen aurasaks en aignem gin fogel be atham. Esh, lurt e chinde gus en de elje dort e les trom chushach moer. Salium en chid jou de yino na tummy krel de be kaart an de shaw. Smoor en shan ta vis emer, de hier eriu. As tred a fissio na te form genu, be fissio ach inrach en tre shen huish. Now Lagman had dealt savagely with his brother Harold, but resigned his crown for the cross, and, says Robertson, according to the devotional absurdity of those ages, undertook a pilgrimage to the Holy Land as an expiation for his fraternal barbarity. He died at Jerusalem, A.D. 1089, and his youngest brother Olaf, the third son of Godred the Conqueror, being then very young, the nobility of the Isles sent to Mercha O'Brien, King of Ireland, soliciting him to appoint some person of royal descent as regent of the kingdom during Olaf's minority. In compliance with their request, the king sent Donald Tade, who for his oppression and barbarity was soon expelled from the island by an indignant people. Olaf, their natural prince, was then a youth in the court of Henry I, and the chiefs of the Isles, being anxious to seat on the throne a man of mature abilities, elected MacManus. Now MacManus, also as a footnote, according to some authors, his name was MacMarus. Now this is an original song in Irish, written and performed by ENDA REILLY.
Als ik vaag alle tattoo, gnaien roken de room, smas ik veel alje, govan fagrio. Ga down en sneetje, a vallen over Tame slaan in de griete, o sleefde gekoen. A kai me mo foki morning, kai me en pregget it somewhere. Be up Cannwyll aan a poky stroke, to make rollish the scones of spare. Als ik vol in de taten, kun je ook doen. Is geweg van la grenje, along in de ei. A kai me mo fucking morning, kai me en pregget is on there. Be up Masig fog all the tatu Gna roch on the road Sma say fill yeah Go van fa udio
ENDA REILLY lamenting his torn pockets, Pocai streiche. Now, whether it was McManus or McMarus, Robertson describes him as someone whose merit amply sanctioned their choice. From the pride and jealousy of Earl Otter, a conspiracy was, however, AD 1098, formed against him, and in the combat which it occasioned, both the prince and conspirator, with many of their partisans, was slain. By this civil contest, the kingdom being considerably weakened, it became an easy prey to Magnus, King of Norway, who, influenced by an absurd superstition, resigned his own crown and spread havoc and rapine through the neighbouring countries. Well, this is Magnus Barelegs, Magnus Barefoot, who had the tomb of King Olaf of Norway opened to see if he was indeed an incorruptible saint. Well, sure enough, the body was incorrupt, but Magnus's choice included the rider that if he opened the tomb, he would thereafter have to quit Norway under pain of death, which is why he was going about with his war fleet and took a liking to the island here and made it his base. A fair shen ym braich de chor gelden daus het orgus. Na wel siw na san me, ni eifodi de bi siw corri rumrish tamelt, sein thou gin kilten von pina care de bi shen an acht, cor a foil eriusen heen son weg. Shen jirach anshabi, ren Quincey bridges jacher. Nym lord aslie an allu. Genel me de bollach tiggle na te de greich, ma ogel te ona, a shen my de lure ma han. Tammy cor buistet meisje doet van Helsing de mornach, she onne woer dou de chor barren donnet mor care tres jelach, as te liede wolje chit pages de machri. Renne shina maag lau, ren Quincey Gael, esh Lord Arthur. Erlie van Helsing, genel mi courage manne de saige J. Riddenach, gin visser BMR. As me wisse Riddenach nai me honor, maar dunje ser, na me gredju ma Christi, genadum corlie de jelden. Another short section of the winning performance by BAGAD CAP CAVAL in Lorient yesterday afternoon. Siodiw stasiwn yn asiwn radio fan sé Claare na Gael wisgol sgiliau ma cartnish, sé Robert Cutting Corsolmish, Robert a Corslach.
Have I heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
Mut thou able de chorsigers down a wel shen te fod, gin a ger de ferre jousen, eis tam I cormach hid chilirach. Ach, mo bio a sien, genodum tiggle na tau chiter. Tam I saige jen kagliach ed, doet van Helsing, as genel mi braiach chi dach me vissu gennachten den e fe moile, de gere ridderby jintem, de ginu haiach sor smunionair, de mai, de haige jane a wel e brisjesjach nim negen ed. Tam I cordeel doet Arthur, geneach kerach shen. As nish, de wel na poerk paagle jint, krij visri wine. Tam I gerius de hit merem, as de hit de foljachtdag, gus a rullik, ons Kingstead. Weim nee, ons zed in Arthur, gaus doorte ons zacht, as jinde son, a bal to Lucy walk on lookit, ren an allu kroma. Hi Arthur as tretashin on shen, de golstjags a tai meriw. Yes, Arthur Seuss. He, Magnus that's to say, he reigned for 6 years in this island. This is Magnus Barelegs, Magnus Barefoot. But in attempting the reduction of Ireland, he was surrounded by the natives, and with the greater part of his followers, after fighting with astonishing valour, was at length slain. Well, the arrival of Magnus Barelegs Barefoot meant that the dynasty of Godred Crovan, whatever its internecine brutalities, had been interrupted whilst Magnus held sway. His intention had been to attack and take the kingship in Ireland, but his end came, it seems, when he went to take part in what was really just a cattle raid in the north of Ireland preparatory to his great attack. And in that he was cut down and, according to the Chronicles, buried near the Church of St. Patrick in County Down. Upon his death, AD 1202, the nobility of the Isles sent a solemn and splendid embassy to Olav, their hereditary prince, who, to youth and beauty, united a graceful deportment with a gallant and generous mind. Being esteemed by the surrounding princes and beloved by his own subjects, his reign for many years was just, tranquil, and happy. Roy Williamson wrote the song Flower of Scotland in the mid-1960s, first appeared on BBC in a programme in 1967. It's been adopted as an anthem, and it's heard at sporting and other events. Well, here it's performed by Tom and Jack, the Alexander Brothers.
Oh, flower of Scotland, when will we see your lights again? That fought and died for your wee but pearl and glen, and stood against him. Proud Edward's army, and send him homewards to think again. The hills are bare now, and autumn leaves lie thick and still. O'er land that is lost now, which those so dearly held and stood against him. Proud Edward's army, and send him homeward to think again. Oh, flower of Scotland, when will we see your lights again? That fought and died for your wee
famous we made, but we can still rise now and be the nation again that stood against him. Proud Edward's army and send him homewards to think again. Oh, flower of Scotland, when will we see your lights again? That fought and died for your weep and hell and glen and stood against him. Proud Edward's army and sent him homewards to think again. Oh, flower of Scotland, when will we see your lights again? That fought and died for your weep and hull and glen and stood.
The Alexander brothers. A footnote about the rule of Olaf, when, as we heard, his reign for many years was just tranquil and happy, explains, during this tranquillity he, Olaf, reformed the laws and humanised the manners of his subjects. He was also liberal to the clergy. The Abbey of Rushen, founded by MacManus, he richly endowed in 1134 and gave to Evan, Abbot of Furness, as a seminary for the Church of the Isles, the revenue of which he divided into 3 portions. 1/3 of the tithes was appropriated to the maintenance of the bishop, the second portion to the Abbey of Rushen, and the residue to the secular clergy. Well, that's the footnote. Let's return to Robertson's main text then. But, at length resolving to visit the King of Norway, probably with the intention of doing homage for his crown, on his return he found his kingdom agitated by the violence and intrigues of his 3 nephews, who'd now a considerable army at their command. Alw, fel yw trom chwsiach, na fel spotjaglach eniach e. Cannwyll eisiol tam I fagen na fel yw trom chwsiach. Haia shisrish, ach dod mi fagen de rawe na hai de rien as de mornach, mo fer ta code wyslid. Vertosted on derre vrije rish, as choustai jintai meriw. Da osla coffin. Sio rawer dorte, as jiria rish de curry. Tam mi arltach de bei surrensach ons de chulju chwsh vis sassoonach, ach yn sio, jinnuan chazerik masoa liach. Je perchas wat, ve bonus pluchit les je moes. Jich en alle wersen les je rish. De wadden slige shadot eer ongroen, machara bach dorte, ta fisseg G de jinnens. Ach een nie sio signed in a cadanine gul cadanan drainach. Na a san me, as de brech, signed in a cadan tau graiach shul ons cadanan eilach. I gaat een nies, les edden niel corrie as dorte, gau carel, wansje, gau carel. Now this is Linda Griffith, a song with a tune by Emyr Hughes Jones and lyrics by Merddin ap Dafydd. Merddin ap Dafydd is officiating this week at the Eisteddfod in his final year in office as Ach Dderwydd.
Golegwan ar hiwyn a nwyl yn y nos yn dal I ddisgwyl. Cannwyll yn y mates rose, cadw'r golau tan y bore.
Linda Griffith and the song Cannwyll. Na bech mai de glaasjen na my tudur grey, doet van Helsing, as eis be fissed ag de goed slu ulju ta form. Jinnam golerish, Shan kerach de loer en Morris brisjes jager. Lug burner haib an Helsing air, a scrunnel dat van dolia degger. Tan inna Lucy Maru, na wel shen an acht? Te. Esh na bod Giel ve Ginchi. Ach, manna veli Maru. Being perhaps more anxious for the peace and welfare of his subjects than the maintenance of his regal dignity, Olaf proposed an accommodation with his nephews. The two armies accordingly encamped near Ramsey, at a little distance from each other. Well, what could possibly go wrong? We'll find out next time. Cartna Shanae Kirt a Chircho by Claare and Gael. We finish off by rounding up the performance by BAGAD CAP CAVAL on Lorient yesterday as they clinched the Championnat de Bagadou with a second straight win in this year's two concours. On Channel Pedwarek tomorrow about 4:30, Annie Kissick will be speaking from the stage of the Eisteddfod, held this year on the Llyn Peninsula. We'll stand by for 2 hours of the best chill-out music for your Sunday evening between 7 and 9 with Christy de Haven. And then at 9, it's Sundown with Judith Lay. Well, my deluesh, and so until the next time then, this is Robert Robert Carslach.
Old Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night. Eve, I'm a creative as Orserlier, as my year and shared you.